Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hazur says that all praise belongs to Allah, that from today the Jalsa Salana of Germany is going to commence, and Allah the Almighty is enabling us to participate in yet another Jalsa Salana. What is the Jalsa Salana, the annual gathering? For many years we have been hearing that rather since the time when the holding of the Jalsa Salana started more than 125 years ago, we have been listening that the purpose of Jalsa Salana, the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, describing that, has said that the Jalsa is not a worldly fun fair, and nor the purpose of this gathering is simply to gather for a worldly purpose or to show the strength or to impress the world in the worldly way. Rather, the people who come here and the people who gather here, purely, entirely, they should come here for the sake of God, so that while their intellectual and spiritual thirst should be quenched and also increasing in their religious knowledge, at the same time they should also be getting some knowledge regarding the responsibilities towards fellow being, and also try to discharge those responsibilities. But Huzur says, by mentioning this, I am very sorry to say that some people do come here for the participation of Jalsa in the Jalsa, but they do not get anything at all except meeting some friends and just have some good enjoyable talks. These people also raise certain problems. Some young people and children, they create the problems, and they become a means of stumbling and misguidance, and sometimes they do certain very obnoxious things, and they think that nobody is watching over them. We always have to see and we remember that Allah the Almighty is always there and He is watching over us. So the very first thing which I would like to say today is that every one of us, they must instill this thing in their minds very clearly, that this Jalsa, this gathering, is purely a religious gathering. The holding of that takes place for the purpose that we should increase in the quality of righteousness and also establish our relationship with God Almighty and improve in that. Sometime in front of non-Muslim friends, these shortcomings are not so clearly exposed, and some covering is also made by Allah Almighty, that the wrong attitude of some people, the Jamaat is not getting any defame. People do not know much about that. But as I said, the very first thing which I would like to draw the attention of everyone, that what is the purpose of this gathering. And the purpose is what the promised Messiah alayhi salam has mentioned, that the righteousness should be created in the heart of participants. Describing the purpose and the objective of Jalsa, the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned for the benefit of participants, that the fear of God should be instilled in their hearts, and in purity and dedication to Allah Almighty and the kind-heartedness and mutual love, and in their brotherhood, they should become an example for other people. And in modesty and modesty, and that quality should be created in them. And then advising the member of the community, he said that acquire the quality of righteousness, and taqwa is the root of every good thing. The meaning of taqwa is that everything, minute things, minutest thing, and to abstain from anything which leads to sin. And the meaning of taqwa is that each and everything, however minute it could be, to abstain from that which takes the sin. And if there is a little bit of doubt, anything in which you have a little bit of doubt of vices, of being wise, you abstain from that. So if every one of us, they analyze themselves, then you will be able to do your own scrutiny, that whether according to this definition we are trying to abstain from minutest type of sins. And if there is the least doubt in something that it is bad, do we try to abstain from that? If somebody is there, if everybody is going to scrutinize himself like that, and he starts acting upon this advice, after the scrutiny, self-scrutiny, if he is going to see and we are going to act accordingly, then we should think that we have fulfilled the purpose of coming to Jalsa, or at least we are trying to fulfill the objective of coming to Jalsa. Otherwise, listening to speeches and showing the instant incitement and raise the slogan does not mean. Some people raise the slogans, and the feelings of their faces and their smiling or laughing indicates that it is not an excitement at fault through which they are raising the slogan. The slogan is just for the sake of slogan. And first these things used to be hidden from the eyes of the people, but now the eye of the camera, without telling and without making anybody aware of that, it goes there, and regarding their condition, they capture it and spread it, and then they are permanently saved. And the television program is used to, and the programs are for MTA and social media. The faces of these people are well publicized, and it is quite clear that on whose face what sort of inner feelings are there in his heart. Then another standard for the internal condition of the person and his righteousness is the promised Messiah ﷺ has mentioned. He said that the taqwa, the impact of taqwa, is clearly visible on a righteous person right during this lifetime. This is not something which is to happen in future, but it is instantly it happens. Just like the impact of the poison, and also the antidote is effective immediately. It becomes visible, and one can feel that instantly. If they take the medicine, and the impact of that, the benefit is instantly visible to that. Similarly, the taqwa also shows its reaction and its benefit. So this is the standard, the yardstick which he has mentioned. So it is impossible that a person should be following the right path, and still the effect of that is not visible to the people. The one who follows the path of righteousness, he cannot go even near some vice. His ideas and thoughts are also become righteous. So in this respect, everyone can put himself to scrutiny. On one occasion he said that all these things I repeatedly say for this very purpose, that Allah Almighty and the purpose for which He has created this community, the purpose is that these people, the true understanding of Allah, which has been totally forgotten from the minds of the world, and the people have completely lost the whole concept. And the people are turning to the world but not to God. Their claim and their slogan is to give preference to religion over the world's. But there are so many occasions when the worldly things, they become more important and superior, and the religion goes in the background. So that the true righteousness and purity which is not found in the world today, what is the purpose of the establishment of the community? That purity and righteousness which is not found in the world today, to re-establish that once again, that is the purpose. So those people who, according to the will of God, those who will try to establish this quality of goodness and righteousness and that in the sight of the promised Messiah would be the true Ahmadi. And that is the purpose who is fulfilling the real purpose and objective of Jalsa. The other two things which I want to draw your attention to is to act upon those things can also be done. It can be done only in that way when you have the heart, the righteousness in your heart, and also the desire to fulfill the purpose of coming to Jalsa. As the promised Messiah ﷺ mentioned while describing the purpose of coming to Jalsa, that what qualities should be there in that person. That is to say, the perfect understanding of God Almighty. After acquiring that, one should have the kind-heartedness and feelings of brotherhood and kindness and mutual love and affection. That should be there. And brotherhood and modesty and humbleness, and also the highest standards of truth, they should be there in those people. There are two types of people who come to the Jalsa, who come to attend this Jalsa. Not the participants, they should be called, but those people, there is one category of people who are under the administration of the Jamaat, and and there are other people who are attending the Jalsa. They come here to attend the Jalsa, and both these categories, they should have these qualities. Neither they can be absolved from these things, or who are serving the people and performing various duties, nor those people who are participating in this Jalsa. Both of them, they have to check them on the yardstick of these standards. Those who are host and those who are guest, both of them, they should see that if they have righteousness, then these qualities will be there. So with this reference, both of them, I would like to draw attention to their responsibilities to both of them, and if they have these qualities, both of them, then the atmosphere of this gathering will be really good, and the purpose of their coming to Jalsa and gathering will be fulfilled, and they can understand the purpose. The people on duty might say that we have done the duty and we have achieved a great purpose. We have pleased God. Yes, they have pleased God. If you act upon these things along with that, nor the people who came for participation, they can say that we have covered long distance and we have pleased our God by doing so. Yes, you please your God Almighty when you have the perfect understanding, conception of God Almighty, and then Allah Almighty will be really happy. So first of all, I would like to draw the attention of the workers and the people on duty that they should establish this quality in them. You have full control over your feelings and passions. In every situation, you have to take care of the requirements of the guest. Always use very soft tongue, soft style of speech, as the promised Messiah said. And the office holders and the workers, the first and foremost duty is that they should always be speaking in a very nice tone. Show modesty and humbleness. This is the very first responsibility of the workers, that they should show humility and humbleness and kindness and take care of the guest in every respect. The office holders and the workers, both of them, they have to take care of this thing, that they always used very soft wording in their speech. Then the relationship between workers is there. Even in that love and affection and kindness should be there for the guest as well, and also among their own people, and the officers and the subordinates and officers between them, when they perform the duty, not to be offended by the attitude of the other person. If they become very angry, those who hear this thing, those who hear that all the people in the Jalsas of Ahmadis, the gatherings of Ahmadis, they do not show any anger and do not, no expression of that nature is there. So when they come here and they will see this sort of things, or some disputes are there, and when they will see two people exchanging hot words, then they will get a negative impression. The workers must always remember all the time that when you offer yourself for the service during the few days, and the service is that, and the duty is that which really is of a high order, and that service is for the guest of the promised Messiah ﷺ, so then your attitude should be such that no guest should suffer for that, and nor you should giving any harmful thing or hurt the feelings of the guest. This is a part of the tarbiyat of Jalsa, that you have to control your passions and feelings. The officers and also their subordinates, the parking, traffic control, from that going to the kitchen and cooking the food, and the workers in the cleanliness department, all of them, they have to show their high standard of their morals during these days. Allah Almighty says in the Holy Quran, "Qulu linnasi husna," that when you speak to the people, always use very softly, you speak to them. Allah Almighty has mentioned these things to establish the high standards of morals. It's a general instruction. A mu'min, a believer, always this is expected from a believer, that he should be showing the high standards. But in these special circumstances, when you have presented yourself for the service of the guest of the Jalsa, those guests who are actually the guest of the promised Messiah, those guests who, because of their intellectual and moral and social standards, they have come here to enhance that. The practical training of these people, they can do it, the workers can do it by showing their good example and behavior. So in this way, in this respect, those who you are workers, you can get double reward, and you can become the recipient of that. One, for serving the duties for which you have offered, and secondly, your good morals by giving them the other people and making them realize that at Jalsa, every person who comes here, that person must be showing a very high standard of morals. If somebody in harsh tone or attitude, he said something wrong or which is incorrect, and when the person he would see that the worker is applying to this wrong attitude in a nice way, so this practical example will make that person who has made the mistake, it will make him realize, and this will become a means of his own self-training and education. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that in the battle, in the life, there is nothing heavier than the good morals. Then you weigh and have the importance of that and put it in the scale, then the good morals will be the weight, will carry the highest standard and the best weight, and this will create also these are the good morals which will eliminate the bad things, and then these good morals actually take a person to discharge the responsibility towards God. And the promised Messiah said that sometime the dues towards fellow beings, they get a higher state than the dues towards God Almighty. In other words, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that the good morals, because of those good morals, the passions will come under control, and you will show the patience. And even if somebody has told a wrong thing, you will get this courage and standard that you reply it in a modest way. And so many other vices of a person will be eliminated, and these good morals will become the means of the forgiveness of those shortcomings and bad things. So the very first thing which every worker must keep it in their mind all the time and never forget it, that good morals must be there, and he must be showing the good morals all the time. And now you see how easy is that. Allah Almighty is blessing those people, those who for His sake they have a full control over their tongue, and there is a smile on their face. If somebody says that because of the pressure of the duty or because of the extremely wrong attitude of the person, I also became offended, so then we have to remember our Holy Master, our leader, the Holy Prophet ﷺ. We have to look towards him, regarding whom Allah Almighty said that he is a role model for you. He is a good model for you. And every hardship was inflicted upon him, and all types of worry is there which he did not confront that, and the causes of those worries and hardships were created for him in one's imagination. All the absolutely difficult conditions that one can think of or imagine, much more than that, those sufferings and trials and worries, he had to undergo that, endure that, but he endured all these things. And the companions say that we haven't seen anybody more pleasant in face and a smile on the face than the Holy Prophet ﷺ. All the time the smile was on his face. This is the example. Is the example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, who is our leader and who is our guide. And he has also mentioned, and he also alerted us by saying this, that anybody who has been deprived from mildness, he is deprived from the goodness. If you are not mild, soft in tone, then you don't have any good quality in that. And this is for the workers and also for the people. Many people, they just has a conflict between them. They should also get a lesson from it, because otherwise they are deprived from the good things. So therefore Allah the Almighty, after the gap of 1 year, the opportunity which Allah Almighty is giving to you, to all the people, and particularly I am addressing the workers, that their standard of morals and behavior and the expression of smile on your faces, that should be much more than that, much more than what you have been doing before. And the promised Messiah ﷺ, the advice which he has given while dealing with the sentiments of the guest. That should also be kept in mind by all the workers. He said that the heart of the guest is like a fragile thing, like a glass, and it breaks into pieces by a simple mistake. And those people who are serving the guest, giving them the general advice, he said that look, there are so many guests who are here, and some people you recognize, some you don't. So it is much better that you take everybody worth respecting and deal with them. So in the hospitality of the guest, there should be no specialization in that. It should not be that those whom you know and you look after them, and those who you do not know, you do not take care of them, or you just meet them in a very hard way. Here, this time in Jalsa, a large number of people have come from Africa and from other countries, and some territories of Europe. So all the guests who have come, they should be able to get the pleasant experience of the hospitality. These people should take the impression of the good hospitality, and this depends on the attitude of those of you who are performing any duty here. So in this respect also understand the responsibility, and particularly those non-Ahmadi guests, non-Muslim guests. Regarding these people, every Ahmadi who is participating in Jalsa, and he is by showing the good example of the Islamic teaching, he becomes the means of tabligh, and he becomes the means of showing the good face of Islam. So in this respect, all of you are practically performing the tabligh in silence. The people who come and the people who perform a duty, and all the workers in various departments, they should remember that their department is very important. As I said, the traffic control or parking, registration or scanning, you are cooking the food or offering the food, the cleanliness or discipline, each and every department is not only serving the guests, but also they are performing the tabligh in silence. So also realize this importance of your duties. In discipline, it is not essential that you have a very rigid face, and particularly in ladies. In UK Jalsa Salana, the girls have been establishing their discipline, and with a smile on their faces. Somebody told me that a certain girl, and which was actually now in the age of Lajna, they used to actually put us to shame, that whenever we used to talk, and whenever we start talking to one another, so with a smile on their face, they used to present the card to be smile, and they don't say anything but put the card in front of us. If they are civilized people, then in this way they would understand the message. And if they are very rudely people, and they would not understand the message, and there are some people who are so bad in manners that do say that they always say to the people on duty that yes, we know what to do, and particularly so the ladies, they don't have to say anything, but they have to give the message to the in charge, and but it is not the job of those girls that they should get into conflict with the aged ladies, wherever may be, and particularly at the place of food, that if somebody comes at odd time or out of time of hospitality, and if there is difficulty or the person is sick or a child is crying, weeping, so as much as help you can give, you have to give that. If you can't do, then quietly and with good manners and modestly you reply, and reply in a nice way. And if somebody uses a harsh word, then be quiet. And similarly, in the toilets, the arrangement of cleanliness, this point should be taken care. To these things, yesterday, giving the instructions to the workers, yesterday I mentioned some of the point, and the duty should be performed the standard that the promised Messiah ﷺ requires. It is a must that there should be modesty and humbleness, and there should be love in the heart of other people, and such sentiment should be there. If this will be there, so then your duties will be for the sake of Allah. And similarly, those guests who come, they should remember, in the beginning I have already mentioned about that the purpose of your coming here should be that you establish and cultivate a relationship with Allah Almighty and try to attain the high standards of that. And then you have to pay attention to the discharge of the duties towards fellow beings. The guests who come here, they should always remember that they are participating in this meeting, in this Jalsa. As I have already mentioned, that to create the quality of taqwa in your heart, in your intellectual and practical and spiritual condition should be improved. If this purpose is there, and you will remember that, so then there should be no unpleasant or no difference between our argumentation with the workers. This will never be created. So these people on duty, there are many such who are young. They are students in schools or colleges and universities, and there are some people who are workers in very highly placed departments and jobs. So they perform the duty only for the sake that the guests of the promised Messiah ﷺ are coming. So therefore, those who are coming here, they should also see to it that they should come to that high standard of which qualifies you to become the guest of the promised Messiah ﷺ, not just by participation. Is if you do not act upon the teaching of the promised Messiah ﷺ, and you do not fulfill the purpose of the Jalsa, so you may be saying thousands of times that we are the guest and we have come for the Jalsa. You are not guest, because your actions prove that your doings are not like that. So the participants, they should also take the responsibility, and they must have to rectify your own behavior, and these workers as well, and they should be given full cooperation. No doubt these people are deputed to serve you, but from your side good morals and behavior should be shown. These youngsters, those who come here with the feeling of, with the passion, they should treat the guest in a very nice way, and good morals and behavior should be shown, so that the desire and the keenness of service should be created and further enhanced in their minds. Not this, that because of the wrong attitude of the guest, next year they should be trying to run away from these duties. And then the people living in Germany, these guests should also remember that in one respect they are guest, and in one respect they are host. That those people who come from outside Germany, for them they should give some sort of sacrifice, and those who are participating the Jalsa from outside, and they would become the guest, and the people in Germany, they become their host. So the host people should give sacrifice for those people, to give them a place to sit, and if there is a short space at the time of having the food, or any other help which may be needed at the time, So it is your responsibility to give all the help to other people, to those people. And because of language difficulties, sometimes the help is needed. Wherever the need is there, you have to help that. It is not only the duty of the people who are the workers of the Jalsa, but each and every Ahmadi who is resident in this country, that is their responsibility. And this is according to the saying of the promised Messiah ﷺ, the mutual love and affection that is manifested according to that. So similarly, the guests who have come from other countries, as I said, that each Ahmadi, they have to show their good example and good behavior. By looking at your good example, the other people, they would be able to see the good manifestations and examples of the high morals. And those people who will be very kind between them and helpful and setting the example of brotherhood, those examples will be witnessed by those people, the non-Muslim guests. So the ladies and the men, both, they should especially take care of this thing. Regarding the food, if there is some weakness in any aspect, then it should be tolerated. The real food for which you have come here is the spiritual and the intellectual food. Try to acquire that. That is most important. And similarly, in the marketplace, go only at that time when you have the time. Normally the Department of Tarbiyat, I think perhaps they open up the market area only at that time when there is no session going on in Jalsa. But some people put emphasis and insist that we have to go. As I have already mentioned, that the hospitality department should make an arrangement for such people, and then the marketplace for the ladies, and also on men, marketplace of men, the sanctity of the Jalsa should also always be maintained. And it's not that only while you are sitting in the Jalsa, when you come into the compound of Jalsa, in the area of the Jalsa, the whole area where tents are there, camps are there, marquees are there, and this all this is the place of Jalsa. And everywhere you have to take full regard of the sanctity of the Jalsa. Qulu linnasi husna, that commandment of Allah in the Holy Quran, it is not only for the workers of Jalsa, but for each and every Muslim, and particularly for every Ahmadi, should take care of this thing. And I have already told the workers that show the good morals. I told them yesterday and also today, and there should be no slackness in this. But this does not mean that you always try to test their patience and create such situations in which unpleasant situations may come out. Wherever, in whichever department you are dealing, and the relevant worker is there, if they demand something from you or give certain instruction, showing the good moral, obey that and cooperate with that. So this Quranic instruction that good morals, treat the people nicely, for every participant this instruction of the Holy Quran is there during the time of the Jalsa when the programs are going on. So except in that case that a person has to go out of something utmost urgent, in every speech for every Ahmadi there is always such thing which can improve his lifestyle and his standard of faith and action. And during the Jalsa, during these 3 days, you have to remember Allah Almighty and perform the remembrance of Allah, and Durood should be invoked during these times, and Zikr Ilahi, the remembrance of Allah and Durood. It is good for the condition of the people, and also it is good for the improvement of the conditions of the Jamaat and the Muslim Ummah, the period through which the people are passing by, for their improvement At this time in the world, the most important thing is the Durood is invoked upon the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam most of anything else. Not only the millions of Muslims, they invoke a blessing and of Durood during the prayers, but we see that religiously and spiritually and worldly wise, the conditions conditions and the of the Muslims is very bad, because this Durood is only invoked ceremonially. The prayers are those which are means of destruction for such people, and Allah Almighty, according to the saying of Allah Almighty, such prayers they will be thrown into the faces of these people. So in this situation, dedicatedly, with loyalty and fidelity, and by creating the pious changes in your condition and creating the quality of righteousness, there is a great responsibility comes on the shoulder of Ahmadis, that they should invoke the blessing and the Durood upon the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and pray for the progress of Islam. By coming to these countries, you don't satisfy your worldly needs and requirements, but a pious change is to be developed, is to be created. Apart from Durood, the remembrance of Allah Almighty, that should be done all the time, and pray to Allah Almighty that the purpose of this gathering, Allah Almighty enable us to fulfill that, and also give us the ample share of these blessings. And this journey, which is for a good objective, the blessing of that should always be reaching us, and Allah Almighty may create righteousness in our progeny, and everything which Allah Almighty does not like, we should be abstaining from that, and our progeny and the generations, they should be abstaining from bad things, and there should be blessing in our possession and wealth, and we don't take any such means of earning the wealth which in the sight of Allah Almighty is unpleasant or wrong. Or maybe it is comes into unlawful money. The ladies should pray for the husband and for the children, that Allah Almighty may firmly establish them in the faith and truth, and Allah Almighty protect them from all such things which may not be spoiling their religion, and they should be following the right path all the time. So zikr, remembrance of Allah Almighty while walking and sitting, and take care of that, and especially take care of these things in these days, and generally afterwards as well, that the prayer in congregation should be offered, and particularly the people who are living here, they must be participating in Fajr prayer, and Tahajjud prayer is also arranged here, that you get up for that Tahajjud and do participate into that. And similarly, the workers, if the workers cannot offer the prayer in congregation, so after the duty they should arrange for the prayer in congregation, or the timing should be such that before the duty they can offer the prayer in congregation separately in their places. Allah Almighty enable everyone to spend their life according to the pleasure of Allah Almighty, and this understanding the spirit of joining the community of the promised Messiah, enable them to understand and to act according to that. What is this spirit? What is the purpose? In the words of the promised Messiah, he says that unless and until our community is not going to acquire the quality of Rachna, they cannot have the salvation. Allah Almighty will not take them under His protection. He says that you fill your houses with remembrance of Allah, sadaqah and charity, and should be there. Abstain from sins, so that Allah Almighty may be pleased with you. So may Allah make it so that according to the wish and desire of the promised Messiah, we are able to spend our life, and we get the blessings from this Jalsa, and the prayers of the promised Messiah ﷺ, which we has made for the participants of the Jalsa, we may be having a good share of that, those blessings and prayers. And not only during these days, and also after that we become the recipient of that. Allah Almighty, may Allah the Almighty enable us to perform good deeds all the time. One administrative thing which I have not mentioned before, I would like to say that from the point of security, you always keep an eye on the right and left, the participants and the people on duty. Always keep your eyes open, and all the people who are appointed for that, and fully cooperate. If you see something suspicious, inform them. Allah Almighty protect all the participants by His grace and mercy, and there should be no such incident at all which can cause any harm to anyone.